Welcome to the video for area and perimeter. Also want to take a look at how to do fractions, particularly inches and feet in your calculator. So I'm going to start off with a room that is too dark. So I like the color, it's a nice purple, but it's just too dark, has a nice picture window. So I want to paint the ceiling white. So I'll make the white ceiling brighten it up a little bit. I also want to put some wallpaper trim along the top of the wall to kind of brighten it up. So some yellow trim around the top of the wall. I need to figure out how much of that I'm going to do. So first of all, to figure out the trim, you notice the trim goes along each wall. So if I have 13 feet, 11 1/8 inch along the picture wall, or the window wall, I need that much trim, but I also need 13 feet, 11 1/8 inch along the other wall. You'll notice I'm using a single apostrophe for feet and double apostrophe or quotation marks, single quotation marks, double quotation marks, whichever you want to call it. The double is for inches, the single is for feet. What you typically see on drawings, kind of a standard way of doing that. So to start off with, I will need 13 feet, 11 1/8 inch twice. And I'm going to go to my calculator and I don't want to work with fractions of inches, all that stuff. So I have 1/8 of an inch, which is 1 divided by 8. I had 1 inch, divided it by 8, and I have one of those. So I have 0.125. I'm going to add the 11 inches plus 11 inches. So I really have 11.125 inches. That's less than 1 foot. It's less than 12 inches. So I'm going to have to divide by 12 to get a fraction. So I got my decimal number of feet. When I divide inches by 12, I get feet. So I have 13 feet, and then I have 0.92708 feet. So I'm going to add my 13. I get 13.92708. And I'm going to store that in memory. So I really have 2 times 13.92708. I'll make that a 2. And the same thing with my 10 feet, 5 3/4 inches. I'm going to have 2 walls that length. So 10 feet, 5 3/4 inches. Same thing with the calculator. I've saved that value in memory. So 3/4 inches. So I have 3 divided by 4. That's 0.75 inches. In addition to that, I had 5 inches, so I have 5.75 inches. To change that to feet, I divide by 12. If you think about it, 24 inches, that's 2 12s. That's 2 feet. I need to know how many 12s, so I divide by 12. And in this case, I actually have less than half of a 12th, or less than half of 12. So I actually have about a little bit less than half of a foot. And I add the 11 feet, so I have 11.47917 feet. I'm going to multiply that by 2. So to get my perimeter, I will multiply this times 2. So I do times and 2, 22.958. I'm not going to bother to write that down, though. I can just do my plus, because I know my calculator does PEMDAS. So I'm going to say plus memory recall times, and you notice even though I push times, it hasn't done the addition, so it's waiting for me to do the multiplication. It's going to do the multiplication, and then it's going to do the addition. I get 50.8125. So my perimeter is 50.8125. That doesn't do me a lot of good, though, because I'm going to measure things in tenths of an inch, or I'm sorry, fractions of an inch. So I want to know how, I want to change that back to quarters or eighths or whatever. To do that, I'm going to subtract off the 50. So I've written down the 50. So the decimal part of the feet is what I really need to worry about. To change feet to inches, every foot has 12 inches. I have 0.8 feet, so I have 12 inches 0.8 times, or 12 times 0.875. So I have 9.75 inches. So I have 50 feet and 9. And I know that's 3/4 of an inch. Most of you probably do 2, but just to illustrate, I'm going to subtract the 9. And suppose it was something you didn't know, you couldn't obviously figure it out. First thing I would do is multiply by 2. So I know I have 1½ halves. I'm going to write that over here out of the way. I have 1.5 halves, but since it's a fraction, we can't have decimals. So I have to multiply by 2 again. So I end up with 3 over 4. So I have 50 feet, 9 3/4 inch. That ends up being the length of wallpaper trim that I want to put around the wall. In terms of painting the ceiling, I need to know how much space is inside. Typically, you get about 400 square feet per gallon. I need to know how many square feet. So 4 times 100 or 40 times 10 is 1 gallon. But I don't have that. I have a smaller space. So I'm going to end up just calculating the number of square feet. First of all, if I have 3 feet by 4 feet, I end up with 12 square feet. I have 3 rows of 4, or I have 4 3 times. 3 times 4 is 12. So I just multiply my uh, length and my width. And I'm going to go back here. I've still got my 13 feet in memory. Um, so I don't need to worry about that. I want to be accurate with my calculations though, so I'm going to put the 10 feet 5 3/4 back in. So I do 3 divided by 4 plus 5 divided by 12 to change it to feet. Oops. And I forgot my calculator was going to do uh, PEMDAS. So it did the 5 divided by 12 before it added the 5 3/4. So I'm going to clear that. 3 divided by 4 gives me 3/4 of an inch. I add the 5 inches, and I want to do that addition first. So I actually have 5.75 inches. Now I divide by my 12. It's important to know whether your calculator is doing PEMDAS or not. So I add my 10. So I have 10.479. Now I can just multiply. My calculator's got it in decimals, which it likes. It doesn't like fractions, but it likes decimals. So I take that number times memory recall. I get my 13.927. And I end up with 145.944 square feet. So my area equals 145.944 feet squared. Now to figure out my paint, I take my 400 square feet per gallon. And so I have, I'm going to write this out. I have 145.94 square feet. I'm going to multiply that. So my volume of paint equals 145.944 feet squared times 1 gallon. We've done this before with our units per 400 square feet. And now, as we have seen before, we can cancel our feet squared. I just realized I forgot to write the 5. There we go. So I now have to multiply by 1 over 400, or multiply times 1 and divide by 400. I'm just going to divide by 400. Hopefully you know that 1 times 13 point something is 13 point something. So I need 0.365 gallons. Well, that doesn't do me much good. Because I don't want to buy a gallon and have a lot left over. So I want to change this to quarts. So I can multiply by 4. There's 4 quarts in a gallon. So every gallon has 4 quarts. I take my gallons times 4. I get 1.459 quarts. Well, I can't buy 1.459 quarts anyway. So I'm going to get rid of the 1 quart because we've got that taken care of. There's 2 pints in every quart, so if I have 0.459 quarts, I do times 2 to get my 0.91, basically 9 pints. And I'm not going to worry about fluid ounces. At this point, I'm just going to say 1 quart and 1 pint. So we can use our calculators to do fractions, inches, feet, pints, and quarts. We just have to change it to decimals and then change it back. We'll do this again on a video for next week too, so you look at that video and learn something from that as well. Please let me know if you have questions.